been a lot of tough pills to swallow along the way, and they're daily, but they just get easier. It's like the more you get punched in the face, the less it hurts.
Let's talk about the launch of Boof.
Boof is a brand new hair growth company. We licensed a patented tech out of Japan. Incredible science, incredible results behind this tech. First thing that happened after that initial meeting was I got samples of the products. And that was really where, as a customer using these products, I was like, I've never seen anything like this before, and I tried a lot.
You got Indy Clinton and you have an ambassador for the brand. What was the thinking behind that?
Every day, I felt like I let someone down because you try and do so much that it's impossible to show up for everyone every day in the way that they need you to. So until you have awareness, you don't know what you don't know, and you can't actually start the work. I had to learn that essentially how someone hears you is reality. Like, it doesn't matter what you meant or what you were trying to say, how you delivered it, and the fact that you didn't make sure that it was received in the way you intended is your fault. That was probably one of the hardest things to hear. It should set your soul on fire. Like, that's what I say to my team, even when they're doing work, I'm like, does it set you alight? Like, if it doesn't, don't do it. You just have to love what you do, because if you do, you don't work a day in your life.
Are you obsessed? Welcome to Chew the Fat. My name is Frank Grief, and I started this podcast after I sold a business for $180 million with my two brothers. It's part of my mission to raise $1 million for Children's Cancer Institute by writing a cookbook called Eat with Purpose. In this series, I'm going to bring different types of founders on for you can share in their journeys and their lessons and insights. I'm also going to bring on guests who are in the middle of scaling their business. I want to make sure the challenges are relative to you and make sure you can take insights that you can use in each and every day in your business. I hope you enjoy. So, Rachel, it's been 1.5 years since you sat in this chair.
Wow.
And I was watching back, right? And I said this to you at the founders table the other day. The amount of growth you've had in that period of time, mind-blowing, right? It's like when you were sitting there chatting at the founders table, I was like almost a completely different person.
Yeah.
And I mean that in the most positive way.
Yeah.
Not that I didn't like you before, you were good. But it's like, it's an incredible journey. And the reason you're one of the first guests to do a second round.
Wow,
So
really?
so shout outs, yeah. And I wanted to bring everyone on the journey for like this next evolution and all this growth you've had. And so where I'd love to start is let's talk about the launch of Boof.
Okay.
And so maybe for the people who aren't aware, for some reason, what is it and why did you start Boof?
Okay, so Boof was the second brand that I'd worked on from complete ideation through to execution. And Boof is a brand new hair growth company. So we licensed a patented tech out of Japan that had been worked on for almost a decade with hair microbiologists. Incredible science, incredible results behind this tech. Hadn't been able to crack into the market before. So that's sort of what we've been able to do now with TBH and Boost Live and the merger is create this engine that can build brands. And so we find really amazing technology and then basically bring it to market. And Boof is the latest example of that. So that's in hair growth. And it just launched 2 months ago now.
Do you start with I'm looking for this particular type of product, let me go find the patent, or you're looking for what is a patent that hasn't exploded in the market and then figure out the product from there? Like, what was your position?
Honestly, it falls in my lap.
Love that.
So it's like neither of those things. This company came to us. So there's a lot of things I would say that come across our desks every week. We're in a really tough capital market at the moment. There's a lot of businesses that are struggling to crack into their categories. They might have great products, but they just can't quite scale them. So that we see a lot of businesses every single day. And then we see new tech also all the time. And it's very, like, this has been the only one out of heaps that we're doing that. Yeah.
And what was the journey? You know, one of the things I loved, and we're going to get into the marketing and the branding and all that kind of stuff, but there was clearly a journey to get you from seeing that patent to launching.
Yeah.
Take me through kind of the strategy and the process.
Well, the team who own the tech, they came in and pitched to us, and I honestly didn't think too much about it, but I was really impressed with the science that was presented to us in the meeting. So I was like, okay, this is cool. I also had seen that there was a lot going on in hair, and just by being in the beauty industry, I'm also a consumer of the beauty industry. I'm constantly observing what's going on. I could see that hair was about to have a massive moment. So I think that was in the back of my head. I was really impressed by the science. A lot of the time when I look back on TBH as well, what ends up happening is I'm the complete consumer for these products and I become a little bit hyper obsessed with the products and what they can do. So the first thing that happened after that initial meeting was I got samples of the products and I was using them for about 2 months and I, again, didn't really think too much of it. Like I thought the products were good, but I hadn't noticed like this. I mean, hair growth is a slow thing. It's something that like creeps up on you. And so I hadn't really like noticed any of this like major transformation, but I had noticed that my hair was getting longer and I have chronically thin hair. So this was a huge deal for me. It's getting longer, getting thicker. And I went to an event and my hair and makeup artist who always does my hair and makeup did my updo, whatever. And she said, "What's going on with your hair?" She's like, "You've got all this new hair. It's so much thicker. Like, what are you doing?" And I was like, oh my gosh, it's only been probably like, it was just on 8 weeks that I'd been using those products. And for someone to recognize that type of growth, like I'd used a lot of hair growth products in the past that never did anything for me. So I thought, oh, it's actually working. About 4 months late, like 4 months into using the product, so another 2 months later, I went to my hairdresser for my usual like foil appointment. And she said, "I'm going to have to extend your booking because I don't know why, but you've got a lot more hair and it's going to take me longer to foil it." And then from there on, I started getting people commenting like, "What are you using in your hair? So much longer." And I was like, okay, this product is wild, because it then really started, I could start seeing the difference. Like 4 months in, my hair was completely different. And so it's funny, even if you look back at old videos on TVH now, I'll look at my hair and I'm like, oh my gosh, my hair is so different. And that was really where I knew, as a customer using these products, I was like, I've never seen anything like this before, and I tried a lot. So that's when I became obsessed with the product, and I went to Craig, our CEO, and I said, we need to do something with this. Like, this is crazy. It's so good, and this is a category that's just ripe for innovation and a new brand as well, particularly with our distribution positioning, so that you've got product efficacy, like customer pain point. And then when you're looking at our company, it's like, okay, what's our distribution channels? You know, we're set up to go into, you know, we already deal with the likes of Priceline. We've got good relationships. Okay, like where would we position a brand like that? So you've got a lot of things coming together. Looking at the Priceline category, I really felt like it was underserviced, particularly in this area. I knew hair was growing as a category. Like there's so many things matching up. So that all led to me going and having a conversation with Craig that was basically like, we have to build a new brand. Like this is going to blow up. And he was like, no. He said no. I remember this conversation so distinctly because I was like, yes. He's like, no. And we sat in this room and I was like, okay, like why not? I don't understand. And he's like, the money. And I was like, yes, but like the upside is like you can't do this product justice putting it into one of the other brands, which is what he was thinking. So we had this debate at length and we left and we were starting a new brand by the end of the conversation.
Well done.
So yeah, I think that's where it all began, and that's when we decided, okay, we're going to go do it. And then it was just about, okay, how are we going to resource it? How are we going to fund it? And then go do it.
Love it. So I had a moment this morning, right? And it's a reflection from one of those lovely people who comment to you on social media. And someone said to me, some random, your hairline's in trouble, mate. I put all my effort into this piece of content trying to educate the world. And he's like, yeah, hairline's in trouble. Now I've been looking at it, I'm going, fucking hell. So
many guys, literally since I launched the product, every guy I ever talked to is like, I need that product.
I might give it a go.
I launched the wrong market.
I'll let you know. So when you first started, like really quickly, did you ever think like we're going to create a house of brands? Because that's kind of what's eventuating now. Or again, is this kind of like, it's just been kind of happening to you?
It probably wasn't the plan. I think if we had thought about what we were building, we would have seen, yeah, okay, there is going to be opportunity to add another one in. But I think back then we would have thought, well, how on earth are we like actually going to manage that? Because we were in such hyper growth mode with the other two brands. I don't think anyone was entertaining like what was next. And then this sort of just fell into our laps. And we're all very like hungry founders. So we would like, we're just going to get it done. But it was never a plan. Like, you know, we weren't really sitting around going, where's the growth coming from? Because at the time we were just trying to keep up with the current growth that was happening in the business.
Love it. And one of the things that stands out, and I do apologize, I'm going to stop pumping your tires soon. But
I love it.
But the brand itself is fucking cool. Like they're even like down to the design of the actual dispenser, you call it. It's very, very good. It's very, very cool and it's very unique. So like what was your process of then like going and creating that brand?
I think it always starts with a really strong like brief in terms of the vision for the brand. Like where does it sit? How's it going to be positioned? What will it sound like? So I knew that we weren't resourced well enough to just be building this in-house ourselves. So I knew that we were going to need external help. I knew Willow and Blake as an agency were unreal. I know Brie from Frank Body, who owns that agency. They are weapons when it comes to brand building. And I think I really aligned with the way they approach brand building. It's very much about evoking an emotion and having like a proper identity and tone of voice. And they do incredible like deep copywriting work. So I knew as a partner, if we were to team up with them, we would crush it, because I think our brains together was something really special. So there was an external agency partner that we knew we could, you know, partner with and create something magical. But then, like I said, it started more on our side with the brief, which was identifying where the white space was, what was currently in category. We did customer focus groups, same as TBH, went back to, you know, the customers, the pain points, the different types of people who are after these products, how to talk to them, what's important to them, what they're missing in category, and doing all of that really highlights then what you're trying to build. So we knew that red, for example, was a color that wasn't in the category yet. And so when we went to Willow and Blake, we had that red like identified as a potential color. We didn't have the name actually yet. They came up with that name.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And we knew what type of tone of voice we wanted. So they had run an exercise where they put 2 words up on a screen and they're like, is it that one or that one? And it's like my favorite exercise. So I'm like, it's that. Like, you know, like, and I think I'm quite a decisive brain in terms of branding and where I see the brand going, and then being able to partner with them, it was like, yeah, it was just a match made in heaven. And I can't take full credit for that brand because we would not have gotten there without them.
That's so good.
Yeah.
One of the things that has shifted from TBH is you got Indy Clinton and you have an ambassador for the brand.
Yeah.
What was the thinking behind that?
We know the power of influencer marketing. We also know from customer research that we do that influencers are pretty much the number one way Gen Z customers find new products or become aware of new products. So to get a fast start with a brand, there's nothing better than having a macro influencer working with you. And we also knew that organic, like that real authentic influencer partnership works so well. So being able to prove a result, them dealing with the problem firsthand themselves. Like it's not just any macro ambassador just picking up your product and spruiking it. It's them actually developing the same love for the brand that I had when I had the first experience with the products. And when you can do that with a macro ambassador and then develop a really good team relationship with them, they pretty much become like an employee of the company. Then you have, it's literally like so much ammo for launch. Like you just can't beat that kind of momentum. And so it's not just, have someone with a lot of followers. Like there's so many other pieces to it, but we had budget, which we didn't have in TBH days. So I knew that putting the budget to that one area was the way to get the fastest start. But, you know, it wasn't like death by 1,000 cuts. It was all the budget in one place and that was it. And my job's done.
You went big.
Yeah, we went big. It was a big swing.
But like from the outsider's perspective, like when I see you guys on the socials together, it looks like you're vibing. Like it looks like it's like literally a little crew team match made in heaven.
It is. Yeah. No, Indy is a very chaotic, brilliant brain though when it comes to content and creative, and so we don't put too many parameters on her and how she works. I think she loves that because she gets this freedom and creative control over what she does with her content and how she promotes the product. So again, match made in heaven when you've got those, the two like energies working really well together, which often wouldn't happen if you were dealing with like a big conglomerate and she's trying to work in with them. Like there's lots of red tape, it just wouldn't work.
100%.
Yeah.
One of the things I'll share from my experience, right? So like post-exit, then thinking about the next venture for ourselves, there was definitely a moment where I was like, fuck, Frank, you better make this good. To all you punters out there who are running, just keep running. If you're in the car, don't look around, stay driving, stay safe. If you're in bed, listen to me talk. It's weird, but enjoy. This is part of my mission to raise $1 million for children's cancer. Go buy the Eat with Purpose cookbook. Now get back to your task. The last one was big. It better be good. And there's like this moment, or almost like that imposter syndrome is like, I've done it before, but does that mean I can do it again?
Yeah.
And it took me a while to wrestle with that. In your experience, like what was that like going, okay, there's a lot of pressure here from TBH being a success. Did you feel any of that going into Booth?
Definitely. There was a lot of money that went into this, even to the point where I had said, like you said, all the packaging is a certain way. We spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on like custom molds, on merch, on like, it was a brand built at like a certain level from day one, which requires so much investment. And, finance were getting these bills for the merch and stuff, and people were coming to me like, what are we doing? Like, are you sure? And it's having, it's having the ability to back yourself in that moment, be like, we're going to have to try this, because I'm a big believer in like, you can kind of get in your own way, like before you even get started, and then that will be the reason that it doesn't work. So I definitely think that there was so much of that. You've done it once before, but could you really do it again? And I think part of me loved that, because I was like, come on, I can do it again. But I think there was massive amount of imposter syndrome. But I feel the imposter syndrome actually more so in other instances, more so with my, like with team and stuff. Like the bigger the business gets, the bigger I feel. I don't think I ever really had imposter syndrome back in the day when I was, really young and pitching for the first licensing rights for TBH. But I feel it much more these days, which is very strange. But with Booth, it was like, let's just have a crack. And what Craig always says is bet big, but don't bet the business, which is exactly what we did. So if this didn't work out, it wasn't going to bury the businesses with it. It was going to be, okay, cut our losses, it's all good. But, you should never bet so big that you're literally risking everything. So, it was measured in some ways and then really big in others.
Love that. What was the most like personally challenging part of the launch?
I think showing up in 500 places at once. We had the team growing. We had new hires coming in for Booth. We had the excitement of the new brand. But then TBH has been rebranding in the middle of that. We've been prepping for international launches and just feeling, I think, the level of overwhelm in most days, honestly, when I woke up and I thought, what have I done? Like I've just bitten off so much more than I can chew and I don't even know where to look. And I think it was, how I describe it is I kind of went through this period of every day I felt like I let someone down, because you try and do so much that it's impossible to show up for everyone every day in the way that they need you to. So whether I was like letting my husband down one day or my friends or the team, like it was someone wasn't happy with me on like one day. And you kind of just have to go like, that's the phase that I'm in, because I've decided to do this and that's the season of my life that I'm leaning into. And it's amazing and I'm having so much fun. But it was like, this like dichotomy of I'm having so much fun and I'm really challenged, but I'm also like sacrificing a lot at the same time to do this. So I think personally that was very challenging. And then I had this moment where I realized that the whole team structure I'd built completely broke basically overnight with Booth. The minute we got, I would say 8 weeks out from launch and things like rubber really started to hit the road with everything coming to execution, the team couldn't handle it and they weren't set up for success. And so I restructured the entire team
During that process too.
And that was hard. Like the team, and no redundancies, like it was new hires, it was restructure for growth. But, I pulled the team into a room the minute I was thinking about it, and I was like, I'm going to change the whole org structure. And we're all going to move into brand specific teams, which everyone was working across everything. They're in different work streams. So content, campaigns, growth. And I said, we're not going to do that anymore. We're just going to work in brand teams. So a lot of you are going to have to choose brands, which meant there was a lot of exciting stuff for TBH, but did they want to go to booth and who wanted to go where? And it was a lot of change for a lot of people to handle, and then a lot of new hires coming in as well. So an absolute storm. Yeah.
I think this is one of the underrated things of being a founder. So as I hear you share that story, the through line for me that I can feel that personal challenge, it's the emotional tax.
Yeah.
So that feeling of like you're running 100 miles an hour, that's okay. There's a lot of decisions, all good, but then letting someone down and that feeling of like, oh no, I've done that.
Yeah.
Or the restructuring is like, I can feel the sense of people's enthusiasm and doing booth and that and this and that, and all of a sudden you got to be on that brand. And then they're kind of like, oh, but I'm missing out on the fun over there. And then those things are really the things, like if I look at back any of the times that I almost snapped in half, it's always that emotional layer that then makes it that much harder to work through.
Yeah, definitely.
One of the things we talked about at the founders table was your marketing team and the size of it these days. 37?
37's the whole business, but 26 of that is marketing.
26. That's grown a lot since the last time you sat on that chair.
Yeah, probably.
And so I really want to kind of dig into the marketing world, because I think you would be at like kind of probably the forefront for a lot of brands here in Australia. And so I'm really curious to kind of unpick like what is the structure of the team and what are their different focuses? So
we've got brand teams now. They each have heads of brands. And I think this was the most revolutionary thing with the restructure was you need that, like, they're almost like a mini business manager. Like they're the head of the business. They are making the calls on new product. They're managing budgets, P&Ls, retail, like distribution channels. There's a really broad remit when you're looking at like that brand management. And I think there's a lot of companies like Procter & Gamble and stuff, they work to these models where they've got those brand heads. And that is what we were missing, was we weren't able to run fast enough because we didn't have these pockets of people just being able to like make the call and run. They were trying to, everyone was across everything. There was like 20 people in a meeting. I was like, this is crazy. So having those heads of brands, they really operate as that overarching like strategic campaign planning, product planning, retail, like distribution channels, and then just the everyday like content, influencer management, like everything sits under them. So they've got a campaign head, which campaigns do specifically events, media, influencer management with an external agency. And they've got an external agency in PR in each region.
Jesus.
So they've got Australia, New Zealand and the UK. So they've got those external parties that they liaise with to determine who we partner with, how we partner with them in terms of influencers, brand partnerships, events and media. That's kind of like a pocket. And then content sits in the brand team as well. And they all work very closely together. So content will then do briefs sometimes for influencers. They're doing overarching like content planning for campaigns. So with our recent rebrand with TBH, like what was the content series going to look like? How are we mapping that? Who will we partnering with? And then there's the organic always on content as well. So we've got 2 content heads in TBH and that's how they're split. So there's more of like a campaign content head and then like an organic community management content head that's doing like the fast trend reactions.
You're Nicki Minaj.
Nicki Minaj, like the always on stuff. And that is really the brand team. That's it.
That's cool.
It's usually about like 3 or 4 people.
Okay.
And then we've got a growth section of the team, which I'm building out at the moment. So that is all of our paid media.
And they sit inside the teams or now across?
Across. So they're like an agency almost that services the brand teams. So they do e-com management, a lot of like the promotional periods of Afterpay Day and Black Friday. They'll help plan, execute, and then they budget media spend and essentially are operating, like a media buying agency for the other brands. And the brand heads would be briefing in content to the paid side of the team, and they're bouncing sort of back and forth saying this is working, we need more of this, we need less of that, and they work together.
Very cool.
And then customer service sits in that growth section as well, and they service all of the brands. And then we've got a design part of the team that also is like an agency that services all of the brands.
The level of sophistication here, I'm just sitting here like a little giddly boy, like with a big smile on my face. Because it is like you just misunderstand. Like, I think I misunderstand it. And like hearing all of these elements and components, I'm like, okay, I get it. You know what I mean? Like, the multi-regions, the multi-products, because you've got like content being one part of this, but it's everywhere and all these different channels. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, email, SMS, like everything. And it's always on.
yeah, there's always a phone somewhere. Yeah. Where did you learn that?
Where did I learn what?
Like all of that structuring, all of that stuff. That's like it's highly sophisticated stuff from a marketing perspective. Like where are you getting your inspiration from?
I have a great CEO who I sit down with and table things like this with. But I would say it comes from sitting down with my team and saying like, how are you working? Where are the roadblocks? Like, what do you need? How can we be working better? I think it's just by like being curious of how we could be doing it. Not like how are we doing it now? It's like, how could we be doing it tomorrow that would make it better? And then I feel like it's the information gathering that you then sort of put it together and go, okay, well, what if we approached it like this? And you'll massage it lots of different ways. Like I probably built that org structure quite a few times before I landed on it. But yeah, I don't know. I think it comes from, like I say, curiosity is a big part of the team. And so we never get stuck on like, well, this is the way that we've done it. It's like, how are we going to be doing it in 2 months' time? Because the business is going to be fundamentally different in 2 months' time. So if you're not changing, like the business isn't changing. So if anything's guaranteed, it's that it's going to be different in 2 months' time. And the team knows that now.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love it. It's so true. It's so true. I think it's one of those things, if I reflect on my comment, which is your growth of the year, it's like what you've understood as a founder is if you want your business to double or triple, like you have to double or triple, like, and your team needs to like be kind of part of that journey as well. You mentioned something to me the other day, which was there was a shift that you did with TBH, which has made a huge explosion in the revenue. Are you comfortable to share what that shift is?
Yeah.
Because I think it was really interesting.
I think we're looking at a world now on social media. So social media is such a fundamental part of how TBH interacts with customers, finds new customers, and it used to be so different to what it is now. And I think TikTok has really democratized social media and content creation in general. So the power or influence of a content creator is no longer linked to necessarily how many followers they have. There is, of course, that still exists, but it's very different nowadays where you can have an everyday person jump on TikTok and post a video and it doesn't get served to their follower count. It gets served to whoever interacts with it in the algorithm. And so whoever's walking down the street that day could essentially like blow up your business, like if they decide to post a certain video about it. And I've seen that just run rampant on TikTok. And we were looking, actually where this insight came from was there was a trend at the end of last year where people were picking up our Milky toner from the Rebound range and they were comparing it to the Road glazing milk over in the US, which you couldn't get here. And micro creators were creating videos about this that were going viral. And then what we saw was because micro creators were talking about it and those videos were going viral, other micro creators were seeing that and going, I want to go viral too. And they were talking about it as well. And it was like this big flow-on effect that created like, we didn't even start it. And it created this big micro campaign that we were like, oh, and it really worked. And so I think I saw the power of these like micro content creators and building such a strong community of them when they stand up and talk about your product and there's hundreds of them, like the noise that creates on TikTok and how much more that's trusted than one big person standing up and promoting it is like game changing. And so we've really shifted our focus into micro content creators now, and working with them and seeding the product out far and wide and briefing micros over looking at macro talent necessarily. Like we do both, but it's just this new, priority on micro creators, and it's working so well.
And like literally hundreds? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
even just the management of that. And are you guys going out and like seeking it, or you're seeing, you're asking customers? Like, how are you finding those people?
We find them a lot of the time on TikTok. When I say we, it's not me, it's the team. They do an incredible job. Like they are chronically online, all of them. So, like they've got all of these people that they're following or aware of, or they'll see and start seeding to. But like I said, it's that sort of flow and effect. So if you've got even 30 micro content creators posting about something, the micro content creator community is quite engaged.
Interesting.
And so I feel like they then see it and almost like
jump on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
You know, one of my favorite parts about both the Founders Table and Chew the Fat is I get firsthand experience of all these different businesses like yourself talking about these things. And I think one of the challenges that a lot of people have is they're unable to contextualize someone else's world to their own. So someone might be listening to this right now and going like, yeah, but Frank, I don't have a product and I'm not selling hair stuff and I don't do e-com. I'm in real estate, or I'm in software, or I'm in X, so I don't take the lesson. But I think there are so many little lessons here. And so when I look, and one of the things I love about, there's obviously so many great e-com and product founders in Australia, is I'm like, ooh, that's a little nugget that can be applied to any business.
Yeah.
You just kind of have to figure it out. Because when I hear that, when you mentioned the democratization of TikTok, I know that so intimately. You're looking at our 3 team members there, you'll do a random piece of content. They've only had like 7 followers and like, boom, that thing, it just pops in a second. And then having that distribution of so many, I'm like, oh, yes.
Yeah,
so
it's incredible.
I will be applying that 100%, and we're an app. So how do you guys measure the performance of all the different marketing?
Holistically is my answer to that. So we know, for example, and I think this is something that we probably have quite a different philosophy on. I think e-com based businesses in particular can get quite prescriptive about things. I would say I'm a brand builder, like by trade. I am probably more of your traditional marketer in terms of how does a brand make a customer feel, and, like what color in market, and, I love all of the foundational traditional marketing principles. And I think they've got a role to play. I think people just sort of dismiss them as old school, where in reality, I actually think that they do play quite a big part of like brand and brand success for the long term these days. And I think with performance marketing that's come in, it's been like, what's your CPA and your MER and your click-through rate? And it's all of these data points. And that's amazing. Data is an amazing reference point, but it doesn't paint the whole picture. And I think that you need to have such an intimate understanding of your customer and how they're sort of shopping with you and behaving with you to then, be able to like paint that whole picture together. What was your question?
No, that's good. I said, how are you measuring the performance? And you said holistically.
So I think we then look at all those data points and draw conclusions. So how is, for example, our micro creator strategy impacting the efficiency of ads? You might look at the budgets and say, oh, there's a big spend on influencers. What's the return? Pull them out. I can guarantee you the performance marketing efficiency is going to drop because that ecosystem works together. And I think when people try and get really prescriptive with attribution, they miss like what's actually going on from a whole ecosystem perspective. So I think we've got big marketing budgets that are built out in a P&L with different buckets. We understand what percentage of revenue is being spent on marketing as a whole, and then within marketing, what percentage it sort of drops down to in terms of events, influencers, performance marketing, and then we manage those buckets accordingly. But ultimately, we want to see marketing sitting at a certain percentage of revenue on the P&L. And we like to find ways that we can just drive that top line revenue efficiency with like a tiny bit of additional spend. But you reach this inflection point where I think you scale quite quite profitably. And that's down to retail distribution. It's like the whole ecosystem working together, how customers finding you, shopping you. It's understanding all of that to then go, yep, okay, I know where to spend the money, and then just push.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. And just to make sure I understand and the audience understands correctly, when you talk about the efficiency of the performance marketing, correct me if I'm wrong, it's like you could take one of the micro-influencers that's performed really well organically, and now you could put ad spend behind it, and now the cost for whatever the outcome is of that is far lower.
Yeah, 100%.
Beautiful. Shifting away from the marketing, the team size, the amount of people you're looking after, it's grown so much. How have you had to grow as a leader?
Astronomically, and I'm still in the process. Honestly, it's a never-ending process. I went from founder role, basically working in the business, customer service, packing orders, doing everything, to going through a strategic merger, getting capital into the business, and having to take on a C-suite role across 2 brands, and then build a team underneath that overnight. And so that required huge growth from me personally in a very short period of time. And I think it brought out a lot of shortcomings. But then it was the best thing that ever happened, because I think I was able to take that, realize that I had a skill gap in leadership and management, plug that, and then sort of that has been probably the most impactful thing in terms of my own growth and the business's growth over the long term. So I got on board an executive coach who really, the starting point was, who are you? What are your values? How do you like to operate in a way, and like, where do you want to be? But that had such a core impact on how I then decided to manage and lead the team, which was down to this like core values-based model of what culture are we trying to build, what type of high-performing team are we trying to build, and what do the daily behaviours look like, and therefore how am I reinforcing them, and how am I showing up and allowing other people to do their best work, which was a very hard transition from doing my best work every day to trying to facilitate everyone else's best work every day. And I think I just, I spoke to you about this at the Founders Table, but I went through this process of breaking a little bit to realize that I'd gotten it wrong, and that was a tough pill to swallow. But once I'd done that, I got so comfortable with like failing, and I almost saw it as like this challenge of the quicker I can discover that I'm doing something wrong, the quicker I'll get better at it. And then I watch everyone around me get better and the business get better. And it was like this feedback loop got shorter, and then I could start seeing it in live time, and I kind of got a bit addicted to it. So, you know, the team will joke now that I'm always like, please give me feedback. And, you know, like, how's everyone going? And like, what could we be doing better? And I'm more in that discovery mode because I'm seeing it as so much more of a positive. Whereas in the beginning, I saw it as such a negative. Like, I didn't want to expose myself and what I was doing wrong. Whereas now I think there's so much freedom in being able to sit there and be like, oh, I fucked that up so bad. I'm so sorry, you know, and then just move on.
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's liberating. You're like, oh, that was my bad. Yeah. I fucked that one up. Good team.
Yeah.
When you talk about the executive coach, I think about this idea, which is what you want to hear and what you need to hear.
Yeah.
2 fundamentally different things. And I'll share you a story from my side. I was going through the deal to sell the business, and I wanted to give up. I really did. I was at I was probably in the 7 months mode. All of this shit was happening, and I was ready to give up. And Jacques, who you've met, my brother, he comes into my office one day. I'm at like breaking point, and what I wanted to hear was him say like, "Oh, brother, like, you look stressed. Like, it's time to give up."
Yeah.
And he just looks me in the eye and he's like, "You cannot give up. You're the only person who can do this. You have to keep going. There is no choice." Tough pill to swallow, but that's what I needed to hear.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important with what you've done there with the executive coaches, like surrounding yourself with people who are not going to tell you what you want to hear, but tell you what you need to hear.
Yeah, very much so.
What's the toughest thing you've been told?
I think, I mean, I went through 360-degree feedback with him, and that was in the early days too, because until you have awareness, you don't know what you don't know, and you can't actually start the work. So that first bit of awareness was probably the toughest spot for me, where I think I had feedback more generally from the team that I have quite unrelenting standards, and I think that I can come off cold because of that, or quite like tough. And it's so not how I like actually feel, but how I was talking to people and what they were picking up. I had to learn that essentially how someone hears you is reality. Like, it doesn't matter what you meant or what you were trying to say, how you delivered it, and the fact that you didn't make sure that it was received in the way you intended is your fault. And I think that was probably one of the hardest things to hear. But I hear difficult things all the time now. Like you said, that coach doesn't tell me what I want to hear at all. And that's so refreshing. Like, I love having people around me that are like that. I'm a very direct person, and I like to basically just say it how it is. Like, I always say, like, hit me between the eyes. Like, you know, like, don't, like, I deal well with people where I know where I stand and that they can just give me the honest truth. Honesty is my number one value, and it's like my absolute deal breaker in life. And so he will pick up the phone. He now coaches my team.
Wow.
So he coaches my managers to ensure that we've got this consistency in sort of how we're managing, how we're leading the rest of the team. And he's done amazing things for all of them, but he now gets insights into what's going on in the business. And even the other day he came and sat in the office, and he just sat, and I was like, oh, I just know you're going to like pick up on something that I'm doing, you know, like you're just there observing me. But he will pick up the phone and call me and say, and I remember this day that he called me, and he knew it wasn't a good day for me. There was a lot going on. I was like not in a good mood. He's like, I know this is probably not what you want to hear. But he's like, you say that fast feedback is like such a core value of your team. And I was like, yeah. And he said, so why are you not doing it? And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you're not. I'm telling you, like, it's not happening. And I was like, I know you're right, but it's just not what I wanted to hear. But yeah, so there's been a lot of tough pills to swallow along the way, and they're daily, but they just get easier. It's like the more you get punched in the face, the less it hurts. Yeah.
A couple of cauliflower ears and you're good to go.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think for the people listening, like the takeaway there for me is that external person in your life, they can take a very non-biased approach to be able to deliver that feedback.
Yeah.
One of the big challenges you have is as your business grows, what happens is you have more yes people surrounding you. You know, so the bigger your title, the more important you become.
Yeah.
People don't want to let you down, you know, and so more and more people will be saying like, yeah, that's great. And you need that person or those people to be like, that's not great.
Yeah.
And I tell you the real shit, because that's the stuff that is actually going to be able to move you forward.
Yeah, 100%. And he's almost making sure that that's built into my team as well. So I've got, you know, I think people from all across the business that will come into a room and like really directly challenge and speak their minds. It's so nice when you're in a room and you can tell that people are just like, there's no egos in the room. It's just like, let's have a discussion. And everyone's just coming very candidly with their thoughts, but then they're also so intrigued to hear what other people are thinking, because no one's worried about like, what does this look like for me? Or they're not worried about being the smartest person in the room. They're actually just so, they're led by what's going to be good for the business or like finding the best outcome. And that's what's motivating everyone in the room. So I feel like it's nice because in every day he's helped me build that, where I've got people coming into the room being like, I think you're wrong. And I'm like, sick. Why? You know?
Oh, so good. What does the future look like for you? Because it's been a big few years in the last year of like immense growth. Like, you know, project 5 years from today. Like, what's happening in Rachel's life?
I hope I find some balance. I think I've probably worked myself crazy hard this year to achieve, you know, the stuff I wanted to with Booth. And really, when there's so many opportunities presenting themselves, I think we went through this really big growth trajectory with the business, and then all of these opportunities presented themselves. And I know that moment doesn't just like then come around again later. Like, timing is really critical. So I think I've just sat there and said yes to like everything. But I think maybe in the future, I think I want to be a little bit more selective, maybe in terms of I want to give more opportunity to the team to take more ownership, to run more, to do more and grow more. So I think the future hopefully looks like me coming out of the weeds even more. And then honestly, I don't think you're going to stop me from doing something else. I can already feel it. Like, even though we've just launched Booth, when I think there's so many opportunities that I can spot now, and I've learnt so much along the way that it's almost like too much fun not to go and like have a crack at that and have a crack at this, because you can see how much value you can build in certain areas. So yeah, I feel like there's going to be other businesses honestly on the way, because I just can't help myself. But yeah, honestly, I have so much fun doing what I'm doing. I think it's just about knowing where the balance is needed and being able to reinforce that, and having the freedom to do that. And that's what I want in my next 5 years, hopefully. But there'll be other businesses as well.
Are you obsessed?
Obsessed. Yeah. I feel like I really found my calling. I love what I do. My brain never turns off, but in the best way possible. Like it gives me so much energy every day. Yeah.
I get asked the question often, which is, Frank, you met all these founders. What's the common trait? And I'm starting to kind of crystallize. Obsession is like one of the highest tier orders of something that's really important for founders who are super successful. Yeah. Like there's something about that obsession, and that obsession doesn't have to come in weird formats of like 19 hours and sleeping behind your desk. No. It's like something in the eyes, something in the eyes. There's that little bit of animal, and it's just that little bit of like, there isn't a separation between, oh no, this is my business and this is my life. It's like, this is one and the same. And I hold, this idea of, when people say like, my business is not my identity. I think most successful founders, that's untrue. It's a big part of your identity. Yeah. I can comfortably say that, and I don't feel ashamed by it, because I think that's kind of what's required. Yeah. I mean, it should set your soul on fire. Like that's what I say to my team, even when they're doing work, I'm like, does it set you alight? Like if it doesn't, don't do it. Like, don't bother, just drop it. And I think having that every day when you wake up, you can't help but work because you're like happy when you work. I think it's just when that becomes all consuming is sometimes when you need to like realize that doing the work all the time isn't actually the most effective way of like going about things. I think that's what I haven't nailed yet. Like I'm so obsessed that I can't see where it's actually more beneficial to like step back or take a break, or just take a breather. But yeah, like you just have to love what you do, because if you do, you don't work a day in your life. Like that saying is true. If you love what you do, you will not work a day in your life. What have we left on the table? What haven't we talked about? Top of mind? I don't know. I feel like we talked about everything. Okay, good. Yeah, it was great. Awesome. Rachel, absolute pleasure as always. I'm looking forward to 12 months from today. You're sitting there and I go, Jesus, I thought you grew a lot last time. I always cringe so hard. Like even 12 months ago at the podcast I do, I'm like, oh no, I can't listen. Well, it's out there forever. Haunts me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.